Well, thank you, and thank you for coming because I didn't expect so many people turning up. Maybe, Civic Exchange have different expectations, but, for me, it's like when I remember the first conference that I had attended probably 10 years ago on ship emissions in Singapore. That's a special session created for ship emission discussion. We only have like 5 people. But we started the conversation, and over the years, 5 became 20. And I remember in 2012, the Better Air Quality Conference in Hong Kong, we had a full house in the room. Actually, people had to sit on the floor, and they just crammed in to want to listen to what's going on with ship emissions and control, and what the government in the region were planning to do at that time. So I think it's really great. And Veronica, hi. We've got a lot of friends here, so forgive me if I'm calling names. And I think, we have a lot of not just good friends, but also collaborators in the room over the years. And I see Edward as well. Thank you for coming. Now, I'm not going to go through the report because you will have a copy. It would take me another 10 years to tell you the story from start to finish. What I'm trying to say here is I want to share with you a few things. What makes the Fair Winds Charter and this journey very special and unique. Now, first of all, imagine if you are a top scientist like Alexis here. He picked a research topic and did some fantastic research. He published a report, published a couple of papers in academic journals, and then all the publications just sit on the shelf. No one take notice, and it's there for good, okay? It happens all the time, as I can tell as well, because I'm also an academic. Or imagine Civic Exchange or some really passionate environmentalists who are really concerned about air pollution and air quality issues in Hong Kong and also in the region. And they thought, okay, maybe we can do something on ship emissions. And then they started to go out and engage the industry and the government. But then it's under the radar and no one is interested to talk to them. And maybe after a few months, they've decided that it's just too soon to talk about that because no one is paying any attention to that. And, it dies down, it was killed, basically. So they move on to another topic. It also happened a lot of time. Imagine diligent civil servants like Peter here. Okay, he was inspired by what's happening in Los Angeles and Long Beach and other European ports in terms of how they control ship emissions. Okay, he tried and brought these ideas back to Hong Kong and talked to his seniors. And they said, well, is it our priority? Look at the numbers. It's only 3% of emissions compared to power plants. Power plant is more than 50%. Road transport is also a major emitter. Can we focus on power plants and road transport first? Forget about ship emissions. Don't talk about it in the next 10 years. It's not going to happen because the influence or the impact is minimal, okay? So again, it's been killed. Now, imagine some visionary from the shipping sector like Arthur, who's been, attending all these meetings at the International Maritime Organization, and they are already talking about climate change, relationship with shipping industry, air pollution, and the impacts, and how we're going to control. Then when he came back and talked to his peers, and the first thing they start to think about is, what would be the cost to switch to cleaner fuel? Are we in a position to do that? Or should we wait for a little bit more longer, just to wait for the government to come up with some regulation? Until we are forced to do so, maybe we shouldn't think about it right now. Okay? Now, the reason why I've come up with all these stories, actually it's not stories, it's real. It happens all the time when it comes to policy making. As a think tank, I think Civic Exchange encounter numerous occasions like that. We really want to push for policy change. We really want to do research and get noticed. We really want to work with the industry, but, often we've been pushed back. But when we put all this into the context and think about this journey this is really unique because what happened was we started with research, we've completed research. We don't just put it on the shelf. We took the results to the industry and engaged the trade. We talked to the trade expecting, excuses, but actually they said, yes, we want to explore. We want to be part of the solution as long as we have a level playing field, right, Arthur? Yes? Okay, then we go and engage with the government, bring them to the table at the beginning as observer, and then later on they become a key player because when it comes to policy making, they are the driver. They are those who have the responsibility to make policy change. And they are willing to do it because they already have the shipping industry on board. They have the NGO sector on board. They have the academics on board with all the evidence and science to support their policy-making process. That's the Fair Winds Charter. That's the journey that's taken us for 10 years and more. But I think this is a really important learning process for us, for the NGO sector, for the industry, for the government and academia, and also for ordinary citizens who are just interested in policy making in general. And that's why we have put the experience and the story into writing. And I have to say I'm very privileged to have the opportunity to write down the story. I mean, it's been a daunting challenge to my memory because I have to recall, meetings or even, conversations that took place 10 years ago. And thank goodness I kept most of the emails so I can track back from my hard drive. And now that I found out, I was turned down for this meeting or I was rejected to speak to someone in the government, but that's all okay because when we look back, actually, it's a very rewarding journey. Before I give the mic back to Evan, I want to say one more thing. Now, this is about collaboration. This is also about from science to policy. And in the middle, we have a very important component, which is engagement. Without the engagement part, actually, we will have real difficulty to translate science into policy. And that's why through the engagement and open dialogue and being transparent and honest with one another, and I'm sure, Arthur and Roberto, I saw you as well in the room, you would confess, I mean, we really had a very good conversation at that time, being honest and direct. And with that as a basis, we move on together to achieve what we want to achieve at the end of the day. So I really have a lot of people to thank, but I think my time is up. I will do it maybe towards the end of the event. And without further ado, Evan, thank you for this opportunity for me to say a few words. But I think we will have a much more interactive discussion after this. Thank you. Thank you, Simon.